give me the cube, we'll come off mic, and then immediately to you.
Alright. I'm ready when you guys are.
Alright, I'm going to come off mic.
Ah, they were right. This thing really does read like stereo instructions. Oh, hi guys. Uh, you could have told me before you just pointed a live camera at me.
Sorry, I messed that up.
The people, yeah. It's okay. I mean, at least you're here.
Yeah.
Unlike somebody. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Bishop. Hi, Mom. Hi, Tara. So, how am I putting this? Okay, so we had some plans, but unfortunately they didn't go through. Not going to really hash into it, go over it. Fact is, we're kind of scrambling here tonight. But, it's the second week of September. The bishop's over there dying in the corner. And a lot of people will tell you that September 1st is the first day of fall, the end of summer. But, we suck at making plans here, so we're saying goodbye to summer now by talking about movies and specifically a hallmark of the summer season, sharks. So we're talking about shark movies, but before we get into all that, Sean, get inside. Stop playing with the hurricane. My little brother Donson currently staring down a Category 2 hurricane down in Louisiana. Because of course he is. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
But anyhow, but before we get into the nitty gritty of movies and stuff like that, well, shark movies specifically, I wanted to just real quick mention a movie that we went and saw. When did we see it? Was it?
It was opening day the 6th.
That's right. Yeah, it was the 6th. We actually went and saw. This is the. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember the last time I saw a movie on the opening Friday. I'm being dead serious. Maybe. No, it wasn't Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace. We went on a Saturday because all the playing screenings of it after I got out of school were already sold out, and he totally didn't. My grandfather totally didn't sneak me out of school to go see it before the rest of us in the family did.
That movie was important enough to get out of that Harry Burr school. See, I went to a few midnight releases, like major, and now they don't even do those anymore. You don't go to a movie Thursday night at midnight anymore.
Yeah, no, because some jackass. But anyhow, we went and saw Beetlejuice, and you can see down here we have wonderful Bob, hashtag Justice for Bob.
Justice for Bob.
If you haven't gone and seen the movie yet, just so you know, Bob is your favorite dead character now. There is no escaping. You are contractually obligated. You will love him. He is awesome. Bob will always be awesome. Bob is all. Also, Beetlejuice was the first movie I've actually bought memorabilia from. Now, this is gonna sound really weird for me. I'm not a big fan of plastic. I don't like plastic novelties. I don't like plastic memorabilia. It feels tacky. It looks tacky 9 times out of 10. It's hard to make plastic look good. Mm-hmm. With the exception of tabletop miniatures. Those things look awesome. But the thing that blew me away actually was my handbook for the recently deceased, which is actually a holding tray. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is metal.
It's actually.
This is solid metal. Now, to be fair, it's not like cast iron. It doesn't even say what it is. Ow.
It's
Pinched my thumb on it.
still better than what I would expect to get at a movie theater nowadays.
Sean says we need to do more movie review episodes. Maybe in the future, yeah. I didn't want to talk too much about it because, frankly, go bleep and see it. It is annoying because apparently there's tons of special memorabilia, but they're all in regions. For example, I had my heart set on this tiki glass of Bob's head, and unfortunately, my region didn't sell that. There's a popcorn bucket that's a big sandworm. My theaters, we had this tin case and, a popcorn bucket that was Beetlejuice's headstone. And I was really torn between the two, but I saw that these were actually metal, and I was like, I gotta get this. But anyhow, but yeah, no, absolutely you should go see it. And this is coming from someone who, well, you should go see it, Sean. I'm going to confess to you guys, I was adamantly against this movie.
You were?
No, I remember, this wasn't on the show, but I remember the bishop is weird. He likes to look up lists of movies and just go over how excited you are. I literally didn't even acknowledge Beetlejuice. I was like, yeah, nothing's coming out in late September. What are you talking about? Shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the hurricane won't be inside the theater with you. That's why you go inside the building, Sean.
Oh, it will be Friday the 13th, won't it?
It will.
I walked off Walmart on a Friday the 13th.
I should have gone with you. I still feel guilty about that.
You walked off the next day.
I know, but I should have gone with you.
No, yeah, the movie's good.
They were about, they came in combos, and they were like $35 each.
But you did get stuff with it. You got a medium popcorn.
A medium popcorn. I got my drink with the Bob topper, which apparently there were a couple other versions, but I wanted Bob. I wanted the shrunken head. And that was before I found out that, we all love Bob. We do. Don't you look at, don't you grimace? Bob. Oh no, I remember a certain someone shouting no at a certain scene that we won't get into because of spoilers.
No.
And it was just me and you in the theater because we went like an early playing. We avoided the matinee.
Yeah, we were early Friday.
We were early Friday.
Which is weird because it's one of like 2 or 3 times I've ever been alone in a theater.
Yeah.
Which was...
You were actually talking.
Well, yeah, if nobody's around.
Yeah, but still. Don't you grimace at me about Bob. You literally shouted no at that scene. Sean's theater doesn't usually have merchandise. That sucks. But anyhow, no, I was dead set against this movie. I was like, no sequels, no more reboots, no, stop it. In fact, can we just stop making movies? Because frankly, they suck. And I want to point out that I'm like, that statement I said was 90% correct. Seriously, we've had like 2 really good movies come out in the past 12 months.
We saw Deadpool. That was amazing.
Deadpool and Wolverine was good.
But they also both like... How do we...
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that Deadpool and Wolverine and Beetlejuice have in common. They are front-loaded, front and center about a character you want to see.
Yeah, they actually put the movie first.
Yeah, they put the character specifically first. Even though if I'm being honest, and I'm going to avoid spoilers, I'm just going to say it. Beetlejuice, all the best characters are I don't want to say hardly in it, but they feel like they're not in it very much. William Dafoe, I remember when I walked out of the theater, I told you, Bishop, we needed to call the police because William Dafoe absolutely stole every freaking scene, he was in.
In it that much compared.
A few minutes. He probably only had like 5-10 minutes of screen time, but when he was there, boy howdy, he was keeping it real.
Yeah.
The people who saw that movie will get that reference. Didn't see that one. I did not see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Kind of want to though. But anyhow, no, William Dafoe and Michael Keaton just absolutely steal this movie and are so great in their roles that it really is a shame that they are only really in total maybe half of the movie. The rest of the movie is with Lydia and her daughter.
Which they did great too.
They were great.
A slower build up, I would say.
They were. The problem is that you have good actors performing good roles, like Lydia. And then you have Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton. And it doesn't matter how good of a performance you do, standing next to Michael Keaton playing Beetlejuice, you're going to look inferior. You're going to seem less good. And there were several scenes where I was just like, so what's the B-Man doing right now? Where's Can we see? Where's Bob? I want Bob. Dang it, Bob. I've heard some people make that argument, Sean, that Beetlejuice himself actually isn't in the movie that much. The original. Kinda. But I will say, the original Beetlejuice also has a much faster pace, so you don't notice it as much. Also, it has a wonderful cast of other ghosts to do spooky, weird, kooky shit, which is what you wanted to see in the original Beetlejuice. This one, we want to see Beetlejuice, specifically.
See, I didn't mind seeing Lydia. I mean, that was...
She was...
And the daughter...
The daughter...
Is that really a spoiler? Her daughter's boyfriend?
Oh, the boyfriend.
Great. It just...
Oh, yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even that they were bad. It's that you're talking about one of the best performances, period, hands down. Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice, one of the best performances ever. Everything is going to seem to pale before that.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of bad because I don't think he was trying to, steal the show or do anything like that. He was doing what the director probably told him, what Burton told him to do. He was being Beetlejuice.
And it's surprising. It's a Tim Burton film that I actually like.
Yeah, you can't stand Burton.
I don't really like Burton.
It's funny.
The early 2000s.
You don't like Burton. I don't like sequels. We both had every reason to hate this movie, and absolutely loved it. I heard you busted up.
It was hilarious.
You busted up laughing more times than I did.
It was actually really funny.
Although, to be fair, I also don't. I just generally don't do that. I don't usually bust up laughing. Just how I am.
Yeah, when we saw Deadpool, the first third of the movie, you were quiet. I'm like, oh no, Kristoff hates this.
I don't know. I just don't bust up laughing.
It's weird because when I watch a movie at home, I don't really laugh as much. But in the theater, it's like...
Yeah. And, but no, I will admit, and this isn't a spoiler, the censor joke near the end. I don't know what it is. The censor bleep always gets me. I don't know why. And because I didn't expect it either.
Well, it's a PG-13 movie, right?
Yes, it is PG-13. You can say fuck once.
Yes, within specific context.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it wouldn't be out of realm for a character like Beetlejuice to say fuck.
Yeah.
So I would argue they could have gotten away with it.
And the line literally is WTF.
What the...
But
the bleep was just so out of nowhere. And again, that's like my funny bone. I love that censor bleep. That bleep always makes me laugh. One of the funniest videos on YouTube, in my opinion, is the Count Unnecessary Censorship. I love that video so damn much. Yeah. But no, it was a great movie. You should absolutely go see it. Get some of the memorabilia.
Yeah, it's the second movie.
It's the second movie.
Both of us have seen in theaters.
Yeah.
I used to go see a movie a month in theaters.
You used to literally go just to go. I remember I would be like, where are you going? It's like, to the movies.
Yeah.
What's playing? I don't know. You literally would just go there and see what was playing next.
No, I always knew what I was going to see. Back when I worked at Edgefield, it's like I worked either in the morning or at night, and it's like, yeah, Avengers is playing. I went and saw it myself. Mad Max was playing. I went and saw it myself.
Yeah,
My dad took me to the movie.
Now I will. I'm not going to sit here and gush over it. I will acknowledge it does have problems. the big problem that I had with the movie is it felt like two separate movies. It felt like the Beetlejuice movie and then the Lydia movie. And they just happened to both end in the third act at the church. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that's where the big ending is. The finale is in a church. Which, by the way, in continuity, and I'm sure this was meant to be as a joke, but earlier in the film, Beetlejuice draws a cross on his chest and it ignites on fire.
Yeah, and then he blows
but he walks into a church and he's fine. I was expecting them to make another joke about him bursting in a fire or something, and I was kind of disappointed actually.
Could have just had him steaming.
Yeah, steaming or something. I would have liked that joke. They should have followed up with that joke because I loved that drawing the cross and then.
There's not really much bad you can say about it, other than
the weak link is that it feels like two separate movies happening.
Beetlejuice should have been in it more. That's really it.
Defoe should have had more screen time. I liked his character. Bob, obviously, justice for Bob. I liked the other Bobs, who they all gave names at the end of the movie. During the credits, they actually gave them different names. But if you look, during the movie, they all have Bob on their name tags.
I did not catch that.
I did. They all have Bob on their name tag. Hi, I'm Bob. But, yeah, and I'm just going to say it. The stitched up lady, Dahlia, really was the Achilles heel of this movie. She was really weak. Not a bad actress. Excuse me. It's just she wasn't needed. Really, nothing happened because of her.
She was supposed to be the main villain, but the movie didn't need a villain per
Beetlejuice
se.
was a perfectly fine villain. Defoe would have been a good villain.
Defoe should have been the main villain, and even him, he was just, he's not.
He was less of a villain and more of a protagonist. He was the problem. Antagonist, excuse me. He was the problem. He was a problem. And the same with her. She was barely in it, and she really wasn't needed. Yeah. Although it was absolutely hilarious getting the backstory. Shut up! It was absolutely hilarious getting the backstory with her and Beetlejuice and stuff like that.
Not every movie needs a Darth Vader.
Not really, no. And again, Beetlejuice could carry it as the villain himself. That's another problem. Villains can be the main character. It's okay if the main character is a bad person. And we're actually going to use that as a great segue, because we're going to talk about our first shark movie, the shark movie, the movie that if I didn't talk about, you'd all be mad at me. Of course, I'm talking about Jaws. 1975, the film that sparked a million controversies. We got a little wooden shark here. Hi, little guy. Here, you hang out with Bob. Dang it, Bob. Justice for Bob. There you go. Sean, calm down. I haven't been drinking, and I haven't taken any aspirin, so there's a good chance that I won't even talk about that movie. We'll see what happens. This is Coke, by the way. I'm not drinking. Anyway. Anywho, so what the hell was up with Jaws? Okay. Jaws is, for me, a very difficult film to broach, because it is... Oh, no. Are we good?
Yeah, I'm just going online.
You were messing with the computer. You only mess with the computer when something bad is happening.
No, I went online so I can look up Jaws.
Okay, fine. Anyway, it came out in 1975, based off a novel that was written a year before, and it annoys me. Shut up! God damn, I hate this fucking phone. I swear, literally, I get an email and it's like it has to light the freaking beacons of Gondor or some shit. But anyway, now, Jaws was originally a novel from 1974 that was written by, I have my notes here finally.
Peter Benchley.
Benchley, is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, Peter Benchley.
I actually know that off the top of my head.
I'm terrible at names, get off my back. Anyway, and what annoys me the most about Jaws Well, there's two things that really annoy me about Jaws, and I'll get to the second one in a minute. The first one is how this movie is listed as such a triumph for Steven Spielberg. Now, I'm just going to say this, and you can all be mad at me if you want. I'm going to say it. Spielberg is one of the richest douchebags walking the face of the earth. I don't like him. He's a prick. He can go hang out with that grave robber Stephen King for all I care. And what is annoying is everyone lists this movie as one of his greatest pieces. It was such a triumph for him. Yeah, it was a triumph in spite of Spielberg. At every step, Spielberg was undermining his own production, and mostly it was because of the fact that he couldn't listen to anyone else. We all know the famous story about Bruce. Bruce was the code name given to the animatronic shark that they used in the movie. The shark cost literally hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time, and by today's economy probably would come close to millions. And everyone told him it was a bad idea to use this damn thing. Hell, half the movie they show it from the shark's point of view because they couldn't get the damn thing to work. It's annoying as hell because, again, so many people had to drag him kicking and screaming away from showing off this stupidly expensive machine that he just had to buy. That's what pisses me off. Everyone talks about it. It was such a great movie, such a great film. It was literally Spielberg just trying to show that he could make a huge production film after his admitted success with films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was relatively a low budget.
According to this, that was after.
Was it after? What was before?
According to this, Firelight, never seen it. Duel, a very rare movie. I have seen that. Ace, Ellie, and it was his first big one.
Yeah, thank you. I was right. So basically, he had a chip on his shoulder because everyone said he was a small-time director, that he only made small-budget films, and he was hell-bent to have as big a budget, as big a film as possible. And he took this little book that honestly wasn't very popular at the time. Jaws the novel was kind of a flop, actually. And he took that and was like, you know what? I can throw a shit ton of money at this and make it successful because I'm Steven Spielberg. As if anyone gives a shit back in 75 about that. But anyhow, here's the funny thing. His ego kept getting in the way. The legendary Jaws theme, he hated it.
He did, yeah.
He hated it, and it literally had to be put in the film by the freaking editors vetoing him. He literally had a mutiny in the sound room where they were like, no, we're using this song. He didn't want to do it. But now he'll tell you it was such a great film, and he was so glad it proved that I had arrived as a director. And it's like, shut up, dude. You hated the movie until it made you $1 million. Which, by the way, fine. Just be honest, you know what I mean? But anyway, he didn't like the theme. He was obsessed with using the ridiculous machine that half the time wouldn't work. Half the crew were scared to death of the damn thing, not because it was a big ugly shark, but because the fact they were afraid if it malfunctioned, it would crush someone. It's amazing and a miracle that nobody was hurt by the damn thing. Although, I will give him credit, he had the balls to actually be filmed sitting in the thing's mouth, basically because no one wanted to do any shots with it. And he was like, it's harmless, it's not going to actually malfunction. And he put his money where his mouth is, and he climbed into the damn machine, and they took pictures of him. But no, he loved that stupid machine. And it actually got to the point it became a problem. The town that they were filming the movie in actually lodged a complaint because multiple times over the course of the day, they'd be filming out in the water, and they'd have some guy with a foghorn blare out, "The shark is not working! The shark is not working!" And it became considered a public nuisance. They almost got the damn thing cut because he couldn't possibly do the movie without his stupidly expensive Bruce. He loved that stupid shark so fucking much. And it only caused more problems because Peter, partway through production of the film, He actually became disgusted with it. He didn't like the monster. He thought it looked too much not like a shark. And to be fair, taking a complete step back and actually looking at the movie, yeah, it doesn't look like a great white shark. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like any kind of shark. It kind of looks shark-shaped, but no, I'm sorry. As somebody who spent years and years and years and years of his life, mostly in childhood, learning about sharks, no. Just looking at the picture of Bruce, I couldn't tell you what shark that's supposed to be. The jaw structure is all wrong, the teeth are all wrong, the eye placement is all wrong. It doesn't look like a shark. I remember actually, I blew one of my old roommates away when I mentioned how the Jaws animatronic shark looks like someone made a real-life version of a child's crayon drawing of a shark. It has the basic shape of one, but none of the proportions were correct. All of it was wrong. And worse yet, the buzz and hype around this movie had a huge, huge backlash. People, today we look back and we say it was so successful. Everyone was talking about Jaws. Everyone wanted to see Jaws. Everyone was, it was in the media. It was everywhere. Yeah, conveniently enough, the man who was hell-bent to spend $1 million freaking dollars to prove he could make $1 million movie had a bunch of his friends in the media never shut up about his precious film. Meanwhile, the problem is the general public population of the American country are largely dumbasses. Jaws caused huge backlash, and this is the reason I can't stand watching the movie anymore. I sincerely can't. I do not like that movie. Is that, in hindsight, it caused massive devastation. People went out killing animals, killing sharks, because they were... this movie said they're monsters, And did Spielberg say anything? Did he denounce these people? No! He told him to go see the sequel, which was a crappy movie too. And don't even get me started on the abomination against man and God alike that was Jaws 3D, which is the most bizarre movie. I'm sincere. I know I'm kind of going into... Shut up. I know I'm kind of going into a ramble. I'm trying not to, but this...
It's like you thought of 5E.
Jaws is the 5E of movies, okay? I'm trying to maintain my composure, and you are not helping. You're out of orange juice, so you're going to die?
Well, maybe you'll grow and learn from it.
You'll be fine, Sean. Just drink your horse vitamins. Anyway, back to my point. The immediate backlash of the film actually led Peter Benchley to try and boycott it. He actively told Spielberg, hey, you need to talk to your buddies in Hollywood and pull this movie out of theaters. It is causing a very negative reaction. It is making people do stupid things, and animals are being hurt. And Spielberg told him that if he dared to talk about the movie anymore, he would sue him for copywriting. Which, by the way, real quick, take this as a lesson. Never sell anything you make. Never give any control of your creation to somebody else. Because that's literally what happened. Steven Spielberg told Peter Benchley, I will sue you if you tell anyone you don't like this movie.
Yeah, you keep the rights to your stuff when somebody wants to produce it.
Yeah. Fun side note.
Like Lloyd Kaufman with the Vacancy Horror. You still have all rights to it.
I do.
Just producing it.
It's just on his streaming service. Yeah. Check out Trauma Now, by the way. Great little channel. Streaming service.
Throw up a link to Trauma Now.
SeaWorld. When are we doing our next episode of D&D? SeaWorld, Tara, Jaws in SeaWorld was Jaws 3D, which I still can't wrap my head around. SeaWorld actually paid them money, paid to have a Jaws film set in SeaWorld. Why on earth, if you're an amusement park all about the wonders of the ocean and the deep sea and stuff like that, why the hell would you have a movie about a giant sea creature that eats people? I don't see the advertising in that. Come on down, bring little Timmy to be swallowed whole by Bruce. Yeah, that'll get people into the freaking auditorium, am I right? No, I'm not, by the way. No. But anyhow, no. Another example is actually during the production, several cast members also actually didn't like the movie. I can't remember the actor's name now. The nerdy scientist who was on the boat with them. The one who actually was in the tank, in the shark tank.
Oh gosh.
You know.
I know who you're talking.
The ginger. He had the curly red hair, glasses.
Richard Dreyfuss?
Was that Dreyfuss?
I want to say it was Richard Dreyfuss. Let's see.
Trying to remember.
Yeah, the one who actually survived. You think it wasn't Robert Shaw? It wasn't Roy Schroeder.
Yeah. So in preparation for this movie, he actually decided to do research on sharks. Because he was supposed to be a marine biologist, right? Well, you prepare for the role, he studied marine biology. By the way, he was dirt poor. He literally was basically staying in an apartment waiting for them to evict him. So this role was very important for him, and he was going to play a marine biologist, so he studied marine biology, and he had the horrible idea of telling Steven Spielberg, "You're wrong. This is not how sharks behave. This animatronic that you're so proud of doesn't look like a shark." And so Spielberg had armed security guards throw him off of the set. And basically Dreyfuss had to come back and beg for his job because, here's the thing, Spielberg denied him his pay. Even though he had already been in the filming, he was already involved with it, Spielberg said, "You know what? I kicked you off the set, so I'm not going to pay you." And there was this whole kerfuffle, and finally Dreyfuss got back on the set and basically agreed to take a pay up front. He got like $2,000 up front, and that was his pay for being in the movie. No rights to royalties, no nothing. And it was all because he had the audacity to tell the great Steven Spielberg, "You're wrong. Your precious machine is wrong. Your script is wrong." By the way, they originally were going to call it Peter Benchley's Jaws. Two problems with that. One, Peter Benchley wasn't that well known to get his name on the film. And two, Spielberg wanted his name on the film. He wanted it to be Steven Spielberg's Jaws. But he was also a nobody at the time. So they were like, so the studio, Universal, was like, no one's going to come to see Steven Spielberg's Jaws over just Jaws. And that hurt his pride, and he was mad about that. And then Peter comes in saying he wants to make a bunch of changes because he actually had been learning about sharks truly too. And he realized, oh crap, my book is completely wrong. Everything I've been saying about these creatures is wrong. And now people are getting angry and attacking and killing them. So he threw Peter off too. But Peter Benchley does actually appear in the movie. He has a cameo. He is one of the reporters that floods the mayor after the first body is found. Yeah, he's one of the reporters with a microphone. He was supposedly, this is a ghost story, bear with me. Supposedly he was supposed to have a couple more scenes actually where he would like be doing news broadcasts. But because Steven decided he didn't like Peter anymore, Peter got thrown off, they didn't shoot those scenes. Now, what's interesting is Peter himself went on to be a huge ocean activist. Sadly, we lost him in 2006. But he continued to write, what's the word I'm looking for? Aquatic novels. He wrote several others, including The Deep, which was kinda, sorta, but not really meant to be a sequel to Jaws. There was The Island, which was about the Bermuda Triangle, by the way. The Beast, which was about a giant squid, and was almost a parody of Jaws. Like, it almost had several scenes that he took over from it. It was kind of I guess, kind of his take of a joke at his own expense. Um, he wrote one movie. I forget what it was originally called, but was it? It was no wait, I remember now. White Shark. White Shark was, hold on to your pants, kiddies, a novel about a secret Nazi experiment to create super soldiers by splicing human and shark DNA, resulting in a humanoid shark monster. It was made into a TV movie called The Creature. And I would actually argue it's that was a really cool made for TV movie, actually. Very awesome effects with the monster itself.
Was that sci-fi, like about 2002?
I want to say it was like USA or TNT that did it. Yeah, no, I want to say it was called Peter Benchley's The Creature. And it was based off White Shark.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was actually a really cool movie.
I did not see it.
Well...
Oh, White Shark, 1994, republished as Creature, 1997 film. Let's see.
Thank you.
Creature, 1998 television film adaptation. No, this is not what I'm thinking of. I have not seen this.
It was really cool.
ABC.
ABC, okay. ABC made it. And for the record, you're thinking ABC, it must have been tame. No, it was not. It was actually very graphic. And stupidly high budget. The monster itself looked so freaking cool. I love that movie. Even though technically, again, it's a made-for-TV movie, so it was played as like a mini-series, if I recall correctly.
Over 2 days, 120 minutes. So yeah, 2 one-hour episodes. Yeah.
Awesome movie. Would not mind that on Blu-ray. Anyway, I imagine you'd have to find it on bootleg or something. But anyhow, despite the fact that he did continue writing stories about monstrous sea creatures and pirates and stuff like that, he was a very outspoken activist for the environment and stuff like that. And it's kind of sad, actually. He always said, "No, don't watch that movie." Fun side note: there was one good thing that came out of Jaws, and I do mean this sincerely. There's one good thing about it. And this was several years after, actually. It took a while to get the ball rolling. And there's a whole conspiracy theory that I'll get into in a minute. But anyway, with some help from Peter Benchley, I want to say it was Discovery Channel. They decided that there was such a buzz about sharks, and it was all wrong, that they were going to take the opportunity to create a platform for actual shark conservation and shark research and advocacy. They called it Shark Week. And while I will acknowledge and agree that the current iteration is a pale imitation of how it was back in the 80s and 90s, Shark Week is still a thing, and it is a... Bishop's dying over there in the corner again. I would still argue Shark Week is like a piece of Americana. It's like iconic to American culture, in my personal opinion. Even if it is a pale imitation now. Zaslav, you suck. Anyway, yeah, I said it. Do something about it, Baldy. Axeman cometh my ass. Anyhow, though, yeah, I'm fired up. I'm talking about stuff I hate that I'm mad about. I'm angry now.
You're better tonight.
I am. I'm not Kristoff. I'm pissed off. Anyway, but as I was saying, now what's interesting is that there was kind of a ghost story about where did Peter get the idea for Jaws. There are 3 stories that I've heard. One is that he himself was attacked by a shark, actually. Supposedly, as the ghost story goes, and I believe he himself denied this, but there were claims that he was in a shark cage doing some boat tour thing, and the shark got tangled up in the cable holding the cage, so he sunk to the bottom of the ocean, had to be rescued. And that triggered a hatred and fear of sharks in him that drove him to write the book Jaws. But he claimed that never happened. Now, he claimed that the incident that he was inspired by happened in, hold on here, Where are my notes? God damn it.
You can just open the door to a shark cage, right?
Some cages have.
I wouldn't go in a shark cage unless I can open the door. I'm gonna get dropped down to the bottom of the ocean.
So here we go. The 1916 shark attacks of New Jersey. So here's a story for you. A common thing with people is they say sharks can't go in fresh water. Well, one, there are several species of shark that can go in fresh water and live there just fine. Also, what if I told you that it's not like a vampire in sunlight where they just instantaneously die? Actually, they're able to survive. In 1916 in New Jersey, people learned just how long, in fact. There was a string of great white shark attacks. 5 people were killed. The bizarre thing is that the attacks were incrementally going inland into a creek, specifically. It was discovered to be a great white shark, an adolescent one that measured around 10 feet long. Now, if you're curious, great whites get usually just around 20 feet long. So this was a baby. This was a pup. And it had somehow ended up in this creek, which does feed into the ocean. And there are some bodies of water that are called brackish. I think is how you pronounce it. Brackish. Brackish.
That's what I've always heard.
Brackish, which is basically, it's kind of like light salt water. It usually happens in places where fresh water goes into the ocean or vice versa.
Or the sea is higher than the water and they somehow meet.
Yeah. There are some freaky ones where like you can actually see the water, the different kinds of water sitting on top of each other, and it's really weird.
Yeah, or they meet.
Or they just, and it's a line.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It is so weird.
It's cool and kind of like, well,
yeah, it looks like a glitch, almost.
It does.
Real quick, Tara brings up a really cool thing. Street sharks was another example of people trying to repair the image of sharks, making them into anthropomorphic superheroes who beat the crap out of a evil mad scientist piranha. It was the 90s. It was awesome. Deal with it. Seriously, I'll give you. Looking back, Street Sharks was kind of silly and really over the top and kind of ridiculous, but still freaking awesome. But anyhow, back to my story. As I said, 5 people were killed. The real sadness is that one person was killed because he saw the shark attacking a little boy, and he jumped in, and the shark just turned and attacked him. Now, the thing about the Jersey Shore creek shark was that this is very bizarre behavior for a shark. And one of the common theories is actually that being exposed to the fresh water basically was painful to it, to the point that it was going constantly into adrenaline surges of fight or flight. Because normally in nature, a shark attacks something and eats it. Or it's not actually attacking, it's a kind of an accident or a test bite, as they're called. And this creature seemed to be maliciously attacking, but leaving the carcass of its victims. And again, the standing theory is that it was basically going insane. It was being driven mad from pain. It was eventually caught, actually. There's a lot of misconceptions that, they found it dead, it finally died from the freshwater. No, it was killed by a fisherman who actually managed to land it and pull it onto his boat and basically let it suffocate because they couldn't beat it to death. So supposedly he pulled it onto his boat and he tried to bash it in the head with an oar, and it wasn't working. This 10-foot long shark, this pup, would not die until finally it suffocated. And there's all kinds of ghost stories about this creature and how dangerous it was and what the hell was it. And some people say it was actually a bull shark. Nope, it was a great white. They filmed it. They performed an autopsy. They found human remains inside it. It was a great white. And a lot of people claim that that was the inspiration for Peter to write Jaws, except for one problem. He said he never heard of that until 2001 when he was asked about it at a convention he was at. And he was like, what the hell? Wait, what 19 I've never heard of the 1916 attacks. What? So that's not true either. Another ghost story claims that he got the idea from a rash of shark attacks that happened in the 1940s. But he himself said, no, I just thought sharks were scary creatures and I wanted to write a story about a scary sea monster. And in his ignorance, he wrote about a shark. He himself said that he almost didn't write Jaws, actually. He had failed multiple times to get a hit. He had written several books prior, and all of them really weren't successful. His editors even told him, it's like, are you sure you're a writer? Is this what you're cut out for? Maybe this isn't what you should be doing. They literally told him that. It's like, maybe it's time to consider something else. And he agreed, and he had two ideas. He had one about pirates, and he had one about a monster shark. He loved the water. He loved the sea. That was always his thing. Every book he wrote had to do with the water. And his editors said, well, pirates, nah, everyone talks about pirates. Everyone knows about pirates. Everyone's seen pirates. But here's the funny thing, and again, this is something that blows a lot of younger people's minds. There was a world before all the classics and the iconic things that you know today. There was a world before Jaws. There was a time when most people didn't even know that there were different kinds of shark. Shut the hell up out there in the desert. Drunken dumbasses.
Apparently.
I hope they can't hear him. Anyway, though. Anyhow, no, there was a time when a lot of people didn't even know that there were different kinds of sharks. They thought a shark was a shark. And so his editors were like, a shark book could be a novelty. That could be interesting. So he wrote about 100 pages as the first draft, and they paid him $1,000 for it. And he and two other writers got together and worked on it, and yeah, they made the book, but it wasn't really doing well. And Steven Spielberg comes along. He's hell-bent to have a huge movie. It wasn't, by the way, I want to point out, his goal, and he's changed his story over the years, by the way. He's changed his story. He was set out to just make a huge budget film because, little Steven Spielberg, he makes little tiny movies. And, he wanted to be a big man with big balls and big budgets. And he saw this book that was really doing nothing. It wasn't doing so hot. It was, some people argue it was a flop. Some people say it was okay. It's kind of a matter of opinion, I guess. But anyhow, he saw an opportunity with it because it was just a cheap little book, and he's the great Steven Spielberg, right? So he bought the rights to it, and he decided to make a big budget movie and spend as much money possible as he could. Because again, it was all about proving everyone wrong that he could make $1 million movie. Do you need to? I mean, shit, how much was Star Wars made on? How much was A New Hope made on? I'm being dead serious. Like,
72 million.
Was it 72 mil?
A New Hope.
Yeah, New Hope.
Budget 11 million.
11 million. Okay, that's.
I had it.
At the time,
up right there.
At the time, that's pretty big. I'll give you that. But
well, nobody expected Star Wars to be a
yeah.
hit. It was just kind of like, sci-fi, whatever.
Yeah, but Spielberg was hell bent to spend as much money as possible and have as big a budget film as possible, because he was so irked at the fact that people thought he was a small director.
Gosh, 11 million. That's less than I thought it was.
Napoleon Complex, much by the way. Sean, I have to disagree with you. I don't think it's that cool of a design. because when I see it, all I can think is that it doesn't look like a shark. It doesn't actually look like anything. It looks like vague shark shape, you know. But anyway, back to my point. It was a huge success, and it came at a terrible price. And that's the funny thing. Aside from Spielberg, pretty much everyone who worked on it said they regretted it. A lot of people regretted working on Jaws. Did you notice how like almost nobody came back for 3 and 4? Like, no, seriously. They got like maybe I think 2 actors to come back for Jaws 2, and after that, no, nobody. It really did become a cursed production, because yeah, and supposedly it was all Spielberg. Supposedly it was just a nightmare to work under him.
I've heard he is a nightmare to work under.
Yeah, no.
I've heard that for years.
See, what's funny is I've heard people say that Hitchcock was the best and worst director to work for, because he was like super serious and very dedicated, but he was also very charming, and so like he would be very frustrating to work with, but you couldn't stay mad at him. He had such a weird charm about him, and he was so persuasive, you know, that a lot of people were like, man, I want to be mad at you. It sucks working for you, but I like you. And then there was the iconic horrible director Kubrick, of course, who you're not a big fan of, if I recall.
I'm
Kubrick.
not the biggest fan of his movies, to be honest. No.
No, but he's supposed to be.
I will admit his movies are well made, but in general, no, not really.
Not really my taste personally. But yeah, no, Jaws was like it was kind of poison for everyone except for Spielberg himself. And a lot of people say it's because of the fact that he just sank so much money into it. It was too big to fail. He had too much support from his friends in Hollywood and the media. And again, there's conspiracies about how supposedly, yeah, he paid reviewers and newspapers and news channels and stuff to talk glowingly about it and keep talking about it, because it had to be a success. It had to be his multi-million-dollar super great thing. Rah, rah, rah. Some people even argue that they actually made the term blockbuster for Jaws. But I've also heard people say that blockbuster comes from Star Wars. I've heard people say that it comes from Casablanca. Any super successful film, they'll say, oh, this is the movie that they started using the phrase blockbuster.
I heard it was Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
Star Wars. I've never heard Casablanca, to be honest.
Well, my point is that a lot of big movies are claimed to be the origin of blockbuster. And coincidentally, isn't it funny how a lot of them are tied to Spielberg?
Yeah, Jurassic Park, E.T.
Yeah, supposedly all the origins of the blockbusters. And I think the funny thing is like, wait, you don't like Spielberg, but like one of your favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park. Yeah, in spite of Spielberg. No, I'm sorry, Spielberg is like Batman. He is the worst part of anything he's involved with. He is saved by the performances of his actors and the effects of his special effects crews and the writers and stuff like that. If you just had him himself, it would be like Stephen King, where like you think he's so great and you realize actually no, he's just basically he's a funder. He basically is okay, I'll do a reference that nobody will get. He's a Sun Quan. For those of you who don't know, Sun Quan was an emperor from the Three Kingdoms era. He himself was considered to be a complete chode, loser. But he had this incredible eye for talent, and he surrounded himself with very, very intelligent strategists and very skilled fighters to be his generals. But a lot of people say he was a puppeteer at best. All the success from the Wu Kingdom came from the people that he pulled to him and basically he latched onto. It was not his success. It was his talent scouting, I'll give you that. But that's kind of the same thing with Steven Spielberg. He's really good at finding people that are really good. and then throwing heaps and heaps of money and saying that he created it, even though, frankly, Jurassic Park would have been Jurassic Park with or without him, aside from his money. I mean, if he got bored enough, Elon Musk could replace Steven Spielberg, because that's all he's ever done is basically fund things. He's more of a producer than a director, in my personal opinion. And I can just feel people unsubscribing because I'm daring to speak against Steven Spielberg. I'm probably going to get sued. But it's true. And again, everything I've heard, he's a freaking jerk. The only people I've ever heard say nice things about him is like Bob Iger, and that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean was talking about the movie The Creature. Yeah, that was a really cool monster design. But anyway, now I do want to talk about Jaws 3. Because it's funny is that, so there's a supposed natural life cycle to trilogies. The first movie makes all the money, the second movie spends all the money, and the third movie kills the franchise, so nobody wants to go back to it. Yeah, I know. Bring it on. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of them. Anyhow, though, and it's funny is I would argue this kind of is untrue, because I mean, let's look at actually some movie trilogies. A New Hope made all the money, yeah. Empire Strikes Back, yeah. Spent all the money. I think Return of the Jedi was a good movie. I wouldn't say it was bad. It didn't kill Star Wars at all. That was the sequel trilogy. Although I do acknowledge that a lot of people will tell you their least favorite of the original trilogy is Return.
That is a consensus.
See, it's funny, is growing up, I liked it the most.
Yeah.
But now that I actually take a step back and look at the original trilogy, yeah, Empire is the best one. And I also think New Hope is better than Jedi. But I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Gosh, that's a hard one.
That's hard, because all three movies are very consistent with each other.
Growing up, I was not the biggest fan of Return of the King, but now it's like, oh, that's so good.
See, I was always in backwards. I thought Fellowship of the Ring was actually kind of not that great. I genuinely was like...
I love Two Towers.
Two Towers was good. I think Lord of the Rings trilogy actually goes in the opposite way. The first movie took a huge risk and almost lost money. The second movie was good and spent a lot of it. The third one made up for the whole trilogy. I love Return of the King.
I do too.
I would argue Return of the King is the best one, and Fellowship is the weakest. Pirates of the Caribbean is another example. I think all three of those are good.
A lot of people will disagree with me. I like the second one best, Dead Man's Chest.
See, I think Dead Man's Chest is the weakest. I think Curse of the Black Pearl and World's End are two really strong ones. I think I like Curse most.
See, it's hard. They're all good. I think World's End is the weakest, but
See, I think Dead Man is the weakest. But anyway, Spider-Man trilogy.
The second one's the best.
Yeah, third one is the weakest. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The Jaws trilogy really was a great example of first one made all the money, second one spent all the money, third one made you wonder why, and then they made a fourth one. The Revenge, which was absolutely horrible. And literally, this is not a conspiracy. This is a fact. This is something that did happen. They proved Steven Spielberg, without permission, used a sound clip from Tom and Jerry. No. Ever remembers the infamous scene where the shark rises out of the water and roars? That roar, the first time it was a stock sound effect, but the first time it ever got used was Tom and fucking Jerry. Don't look at me like that. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you the truth. And people were like, did you seriously use the roar sound effect from Tom and Jerry? And apparently the reasoning was that Spielberg he didn't want to use a generic one, but he didn't want to shell out money for a custom unique roar, so he used one that was public domain and that he thought nobody would recognize. From a freaking cartoon! So the next time you watch Jaws the Revenge, one, please don't. We love you. We don't want you to hurt yourself. But just remember that Jaws roars with the roar of the mouse Jerry. It wasn't even Tom who did the roar. That was Jerry, the little mouse. Okay, Sean, hold on. Friday the 13th is not a trilogy. That's a series. The same with Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. We're talking about trilogies. Supposedly in trilogies, the third is always the weakest. And I argue that's kind of not true. But anyway, Jaws 3 was a monstrosity of a film. Once again, Spielberg refused to do anything other than spend copious amounts of money. Although this time it wasn't his money, it was mostly SeaWorld's money. I would love to have been in the room when they pitched the idea for this. Okay, so we have a theme park dedicated that basically is a giant aquarium dedicated to ocean life. Cool. How are we going to get people to come? We're going to have a movie about a monster shark that eats people. Security? Who thought this was a good idea? It was a horrible movie. I will acknowledge. I've commented how Bruce, the animatronic, is a terrible looking animatronic. It doesn't look like a shark. I genuinely believe Steven Spielberg heard the feedback and the criticism for his precious animatronics and specifically set out to make an even uglier, more horrible looking shark in Brucette. Yes, the shark in Jaws 3D is supposed to be a female. That's a chick. Shark tits, brouhaha. There, I said it. Anyway, the claymation shark particularly lives in infamy because of the 3D effects. We've all seen the hilariously bad scene of the shark coming through the glass. Oh god, that is painful.
It's beautiful.
Oh, sure thing. No, but no, it is an infamously bad movie. It's one of those movies. Fun side note: I've heard people say that Mystery Science Theater wanted to play Jaws 3D, but there were two things stopping them. One, they were afraid of Spielberg, because don't you dare cross Spielberg. You cannot cross Steven Spielberg. And two, there are bad movies, and then there are bad movies. See, and then they're gonna
eat me.
Oh my god! Now, see, that's the thing. There are bad movies that are flawed, but in their flaws, they have a sort of charm. They have a sort of fun to them. Sometimes they have ridiculous editing. Sometimes they have over-the-top hammy actors. Sometimes they have Samurai Cop, Sword and the Dragon. I love that movie to death. I will acknowledge, it is one of the most batshit horrible produced films of all time. It's not a surprise it comes from the Soviet. Still, one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. Still, you can have fun with these movies. You can have fun with these things. And then there's movies like Jaws 3 that are not fun. It was boring. It was terribly done. It was hideous to look at. There was no charm. There was no soul. And this is something that bugs me because I've always said how I love Mystery Science Theater. I love B movies. I love Toho. I love these films. There's a reason. It's because of the fact that in spite of their limitations, in these movies you can see a spark of determination. You can see that people were genuinely trying to make something. And movies like Jaws 3D don't have that because, well, Jaws 2 didn't lose money, so therefore we need to make another one. You know, same thing with Friday the 13th, 5, 6. Jason X. Oh, God.
Freddy vs. Jason was decent.
Yeah, Freddy vs. Jason was actually cool. I liked that one. I wish they had made it like 15 years prior when they planned to initially. And that's where we get into modern times. Because I promised that we were talking about shark movies and we've been talking about Jaws all damn night. I don't want to do this.
And how?
I'm out of my Coke. But fine, we will talk about this. Yeah, Sean actually brings a good point. The Room, Trolls 2, terrible movies, but there's a genuineness to them. And then my blood pressure's not going to be able to take it tonight. I'm going to have a heart attack live on camera. We're talking about Asylum Pictures. Now, I want to be very clear because people call me a hypocrite. I love B movies, yes, because B movies have charm, they have soul, they have passion. Asylum Pictures doesn't have any of those things. They have little potheads with budgets from obnoxious, uninformed CEOs and boards of directors who oversee the Sci-Fi Channel. And because of that, we have god-awful movies like Sharknado, Sharktopus, Orca Wolf, and various other monstrosities like Lake Shark.
Werewolf.
Wait, you think I'm joking? Orca Wolf is a thing.
Werewolf.
Sharknado, yes. Let me explain. I hate Sharknado. I hate all those stupid fucking movies. With a passion. For two reasons. One, the idea of the killer shark movie is dumb. I'm sorry, I'm a stick in the butt on this. That's not how sharks behave. In my personal opinion, sharks are beautiful, fascinating animals, and you don't need to turn them into demons from hell to make them interesting, in my personal opinion. Okay? So we're just putting that there already. But what really gets at me with Sharknado, and what pisses me off is the people who made the movie even will say this. They literally were high off their asses knowing that even if the movie was a complete failure, it was, by the way, in spite of your memes, it actually was a failure. It never really made any money back at all because it was just direct to a TV channel. So, yeah, it never made any money, aside from the $5 bin in your local Walmart, if you can find it. Because even Walmart has better taste than selling that crap.
No.
Probably not. Anyway, though. They literally said, it's like, yeah, we didn't care. We pretty much were just working on something because we were paid to. The director even acknowledges that he was only sober a couple times on set at all. He was literally stoned through 90% of making the damn movie. And again, the reason that B movies are so charming and fun is because they're genuine. Someone went to Toho and said, I have an idea about a giant lizard and he's going to fight a giant lobster. Why? Because a giant lizard fighting a giant lobster would be freaking awesome. They didn't care about making money or fulfilling some contractual obligation. They wanted to make that movie, and they did. Sharknado entirely lived by one thing only. You're a dumbass, and you'll make memes of anything. And memes equal, yay, people are paying attention to me. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Okay? Oh, God, I hate meme lords so much. Everyone jokes about how, X killed Y, television killed radio and all this crap, and streaming killed movies and stuff. No, you know what? Meme lords killed culture. I am so sick of these dumbasses who sit and live on social media posting memes, making fun of something, and then they're literally too pretentious and stupid to realize they don't actually like it. Well, shit, I made 12 posts about Sharknado. I guess I'm a fan of it? I guess I like it. No, dumbass, you were literally saying it was stupid 5 minutes ago. But anyway. And then, of course, they have to make, like, I think there were 6 Sharknado films? And each one is more forgettable than the last. But there is one silver lining funny story about Sharknado. And it's not even from the original, it's actually from 3. So, Sharknado 3, it had been a huge meme, and again, people were basically too stupid to realize, oh wait, it's actually bad. Well, they basically spent a bunch of money because, again, the people who are in this Sci-Fi Channel were complete dumbasses, and they still are dumbasses, by the way. The only reason they're not still making Sharknado movies is because of the fact that they're borderline broke and they can't afford to do it anymore. Die angry about it if you're not like me saying that. But anyway, Sharknado 3 blew a budget out, having tons of celebrity cameos, including Jerry Springer and the great Chris Jericho. Now, the funny story is, allegedly, Chris Jericho, because again, keep in mind, all the sharks were CG. Lazy CG. In fact, a lot of them came from supposedly open source. They didn't even make the freaking 3D models of the sharks. They took them from somebody else that was basically not charging because that's how crappy they were. But Chris Jericho plays the operator of a roller coaster. And apparently, the story I've heard, he was told he was going to be attacked by this huge great white shark. You know, because, I mean, he wanted a huge, dramatic, over-the-top death. You don't want to be in a movie called Sharknado and be taken out by, like, you know, a guppy or a goddamn Hollywood sign or some stupid bullshit like that, or a Ferris wheel. That just tells me people don't like you on the set. But they told him, oh yeah, absolutely, you're going to be ripped apart by this huge, huge monster shark. So, because again, remember, it's all 3D imposed. He is acting like he's being attacked and ripped apart, screaming for help and stuff, really dramatic, over-the-top death, because he thinks like the shark from Jaws has come down from the sky and is destroying him. And they give him this rinky-dink little blue shark that barely is like the size of his freaking arm. Because he's a pro wrestler. He's a huge freaking guy himself. And yeah, and supposedly he hates that movie because they totally lied to him about it. Because he's hamming it up, acting like he's being attacked by Bruce himself. And it's this rinky-dink little thing that's like the size of freaking Famine over here. Supposedly he hated that. And I will be fair. The reason I believe this ghost story is because he himself refuses to talk about it. People are like, well, wait, he never said he hates Sharknado 3. No, but he has said he's not talking about it. On the various podcasts he has, he's literally said straight up, I don't want to talk about that. So, Bishop, you remember that movie you were in that you love, but you don't want to talk about it ever at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works, dude.
No.
That is not how that works.
It was like the time I was on the Jerry Springer show, of course. Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, really? Springer went to your college, Sean. I didn't know he was from Tulane. I knew he was a very educated man. Everyone always talked about him like he was a dumbass. No, he was a very intelligent man. He was a sensationalist, I'll give you that. But no, he was not an idiot. He was, and I don't think he was a bad person either, by the way. I think he was actually kind of cool. A bit crude, not really my cup of tea for comedy, but I respected him. I liked him. But anyway, back to my point. Supposedly, no, Jericho hated that movie, and it's because of the fact that they completely snubbed him. He wanted this huge over-the-top death at the hands of a great white shark, you know, something huge, and they give him this little rinky-dink arm thing. And it's sad, too, because again, you can see him acting. He's trying to act, and it's meant to be comedic, so he's trying to be hammy and ridiculous, you know, Adam West levels of just cheese, beautiful, pure cheese. And they give him the worst CG shark in the entire movie. Yeah, no, supposedly he freaking hates it. with a passion. And that is the funniest, best story that has anything to do with those abomination films, Sharknado. The same can be said with films like Lake Shark, Snow Shark, Avalanche Sharks, Demon Shark Exorcism, Whale Wolf, or Orca Wolf. It was Orca Wolf, I think. Which, by the way, pulls a werewolf and has a scene where somebody gets dumped on, physically. Yes, I said it.
As is all werewolf movies, I guess.
Yeah, I get. Is it just wolves?
Maybe.
Maybe it's the wolf part of it. Do wolves just poop on people? Is that a thing? We need a zoologist. I've heard stories that wolves have this weird habit where they try to get their tongue in your mouth. I've heard a lot of zoo handlers say that, like, if you meet wolves...
Dogs will do that, too.
Yeah, but wolves are, like... They'll actually, like... Because wolves are bigger than you think, and they'll throw their weight around. And a lot of... I've heard, zoologists tell you, if you encounter a wolf and it tries to get its tongue in your mouth... just let it. No, don't fight it because you'll piss it off. And it'll absolutely destroy you.
Oh, you have internet, Sean, and you're in a category 1.
No, it's 2, I think.
No, they downgraded it.
Oh, they downgraded it? I did not promise anything. I said I didn't want to. But we're running on time, and I'm running out of things to talk about, and I had to bring it up because it is that bad of a film, and you shouldn't encourage it.
Some of the greatest movies of all time, because Jericho's in it. Hi, guys.
That was 3, and he literally is in it for 2 minutes, and he himself didn't like the performance, so no. Although I will say... there is one corny movie that I actually really like. Actually, it was a trilogy. Shark Attack. The original Shark Attack was actually really cool, very clever, kind of espionage-ish shark movie. 3 was the first movie that I remember that actually brought up Megalodon. Carcharodon megalodon. One of the most infamous and legendary species of shark. There's a whole conspiracy about them, too. Now, for those of you who don't know, Carcharodon megalodon is speculated to be the largest variant of shark that ever lived. Bigger than a whale shark. With a mouth literally big enough that it actually had around a 10-foot tall span. You could, a 7-foot tall man could stand in the open mouth of a megalodon. Which is impressive. Well, see, here's the thing. To be fair, with Megalodon, sharks do not have bones. They only have cartilage, except for one. They have one bone in their body. Their jaw. They do. So, the only fossil remains we have of Carcharodon megalodon is its teeth and jawbone. And basically, we have to kind of proportion it, you know what I mean? Like, okay, well... this is how big a great white shark's mouth is in proportion to its body. Okay, we know how big the jaws of a megalodon is, so we just use similar proportions from like a great white. And you get a shark that is a bit bigger than a whale shark. So in other words, slightly longer than a bus. With a mouth big enough for you to stand inside. But no, as far as I know, the first film to actually showcase a Carcharodon megalodon was Shark Attack 3, The Megalodon. And it has some of the worst, most hilarious green screen effects I've ever seen. Like, this is bad. But it's got that charm bad. I actually think Shark Attack 3 is kind of a fun film. They made other ones, but those weren't as good, and we're not going to talk about those, because sharks in the rivers of Venice is just stupid, and they shouldn't have done that. They should have just let it be with Meg 3, with a Megalodon. The Meg is another movie that talks about megalodons, and those are actually kind of cool.
We saw the first one in theaters.
Books are better. But anyhow. Yeah, no, I actually think that the Shark Attack films are good. Asylum pictures are absolutely atrocious and awful. and before the show, we were actually talking about this. I think it's like Demon Shark Exorcism is one of the most horrible, bad taste films. I want to say it was. I think I watched it with DJ Scraps.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, and we both were disgusted by it with how it depicted an autistic girl, and how it depicted autism, and yeah, it was god awful.
Yeah, I don't know what he means by that, but bring it on, Sean. Let's
go. Oh, he wants to have a Hell in the Cell match with you.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Hi, guys.
Oh, yeah, babe. There you go. No, he's going to come back for Thanksgiving, and the episode of From One Side to the Other that week is just going to be you and him in a little cage hitting each other with chairs.
Yeah, a cage match. Bring it on.
But anyhow, yeah. But yeah, no. See, what sucks is that like there really aren't very good shark movies, and this is coming again. I love sharks. I always have. I got a shark pinky ring here for my mom, actually. And I just can't enjoy shark movies anymore. What are you looking for?
Snoop.
Oh.
Well, what about snake movies?
See, snake movies again. It's kind of the same thing. I guess I'm just not a fan of the killer animal films because it's like that's not how they behave. That's not real to them. I've always admired animals, and it's like you don't need to make them into monsters to be interesting.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
One of the most infamously bad Jaws ripoffs was actually a movie about a bear called Grizzly, which was absolutely awful. But I will say it is not the worst Jaws knockoff. The worst Jaws knockoff has to be hands down Groundkeeping. The tragic love story of a evil, murderous groundskeeper who dies and possesses his old lawnmower and uses it to mow down various preppy college students at their parents' golf club resort. Okay. Sure, we've heard it all before, but did we see it from the POV of a literal murderous lawnmower? I think not. It was also on The Last Drive-In, actually. See, I would argue Cocaine Bear isn't a...
Cocaine Bear was fun.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear was awesome, but it was not a Jaws knockoff. In fact, actually, you know what's funny is, in my opinion, they were too tame and safe with it. They should have been even more wacky and ridiculous with the movie, in my opinion. They should have been a bit more bold. I actually thought it was really tame for what everyone was hyping it up to be. It was still fun.
I'm glad it wasn't over the top.
I would have made it over the top. I would have had Cocaine Bear like pile driving people like Raccoon did to Vegeta when the guy's up the tree. Just like just plant the little motherfucker and have his spine pop out his butthole.
No, I don't see it. No, I'm glad they didn't take Cocaine Bear over the top.
I would have had it been so much bigger, and I would have paid whatever royalties I had to have the Popeye theme play at the end when the bear gets more cocaine.
Okay, that part I'll give you. It should have played the Popeye theme.
It should have played the Popeye. That would have been. I would have died laughing. But plus, I love that song. I love the Popeye theme.
I'm glad Cocaine Bear wasn't over the top.
It was a great movie. It was a lot of fun.
We saw that in theaters too.
Honestly, if it wasn't for Sonic, I'd argue that was the Cocaine Bear was the movie of that year.
Sonic.
It came out the same year as Sonic.
Oh, that's true.
And I liked both of those movies. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like how Mario Brother movie and Godzilla Minus One came out the same year. So it's like, between those two, what's the movie of the year?
Godzilla. The Mario movie is good.
Mario, see, I agree with you, just because Mario had to get over that first act.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, some scenes that really shouldn't have played out the way they did.
Godzilla Minus One was amazing.
Flawless. Mario stumbled in a couple of scenes, and that's drawing hairs, but that's the difference there. Honestly, I think I did enjoy Cocaine Bear more than Sonic.
Oh, I enjoyed Cocaine Bear more than Sonic.
I just wish that Cocaine Bear had been more absurd. But anyway, I somehow haven't given myself an ulcer talking about these movies that I can't freaking stand. I'm amazed that we actually made it the time. I sincerely thought that I was gonna be like, I gotta go take some aspirin or something. But we've made it to the hour and a half mark. We've made it to time.
What is it with you and aspirin?
What is it with you and headaches? Anyway, though, so thank you all for joining me tonight on this episode where I test just how much my heart can take. Apparently, I have been your host, Kristoff N. Chester. We have the bishop over in the corner.
Hi guys.
My faithful companions, Famine and Gluttony, Rosedew, the totally not cursed doll from China, Bob, Justice for Bob. Go see Beetlejuice. Honestly, Beetlejuice is better than any of the movies we talked about here tonight. It really, well, no, because we did talk about some good movies.
We mentioned Deadpool.
Well, Cocaine Bear. Ooh, that's a tough one. But anyway, yeah, and we'll be back next week.
We got to see Han Solo get like a bear fall asleep on him.
Yeah, we did. But anyway, guys and girls, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. See, you keep snickering, I keep worrying that Sean has said something else in the chat.
No.
Yeah, I know. He's a good kid.
He never says anything.
We need to get him back.
He barely mentions anything. He's mentioned like what? Nothing.
Anyway. Good night, everybody.
Oh, he mentioned something now, D&D.
Oh, yeah, no, apparently, yeah, it's funny. Apparently my mother went from hating the game night episodes because we don't show ourselves on camera, and now she's like, you should have a whole channel just playing board games. And yeah, apparently they want another night of playing D&D and stuff like that. Who knows what next week will bring. In the meantime, boys and girls, keep checking the shadows.